Hello everyone and welcome to Winshuttle Transaction Advanced 2 training. I am Miia from ADSOTECH, your Winshuttle partner in the Nordics, and I'm here to guide you through our 3 training packages: Basic, Advanced 1 and Advanced 2. These packages are designed for new Winshuttle transaction users with a developer license. We are now in the Advanced 2 training package, which includes cell-based mapping, conditions, long texts, and making scripts available for the runner users. This is the first portion of that package where we will concentrate on scripts that work with an Excel input form, something we call cell-based mapping. Let's dive in. When we talk about cell-based mapping, we're actually talking about a different data file design. So an Excel file that looks more like a form. What we do is we map specific Excel cells to SAP fields. If we have a loop in our script, then those fields inside the loop will still be mapped to columns. The design of our Excel file here is very specific, so we always recommend that you start by designing your Excel file first. That means that you just open a new Excel file and figure out where you want your data to be, which cells you want to use for specific data. And then you give headlines and might even put in some color or whatever you want. When you're done with your Excel file, then you start your recording. The recording phase is unchanged compared to any other recording that we've done before. If you have a loop in your script, you still have to figure out how to make it repeatable and things like that. When we have completed our recording phase, we go to the mapper. If we want to create a cell-based mapping, we first have to select cell-based as our option. Then, if we need a loop, we will create a loop. After creating the loop, we always want to disable the other line items that we have recorded. And after that, it's just about dragging and dropping. We have some header fields, which we will drag and drop from Excel cells. And for any line item fields, we will do the drag and drop from Excel columns. If you create a loop, you should use specify row range as your option. That way you can actually tell the system which rows in Excel will contain your line items. So you don't need any identifiers or indicators such as H and D that we have used previously with a loop. With the cell-based mapping, you just specify the range of rows where you might have line item data. Very often, a form of this kind is designed so that the header data is up top and the possible line items are underneath that. Therefore, we want to specify a row range, so starting from which row do we have the line items, and if we want to specify an end row. If we don't want to specify an end row, we can just put a 0 into the end row column there. If we don't want to specify an end row, we can simply put a 0 as our end row, meaning that we have until the end of the Excel sheet space for our line items. Let's go through these steps in the mapper. So our first step is to switch our mapping to cell-based. In your Expert tab, you have a button which says column mapping or cell mapping. By default, it's set to column mapping, so you need to switch it to cell-based mapping. Step 2 is to create the loop, if you need one in your script. Find the rows that need to be inside your loop, select those rows, and click the loop button. Since you have selected cell-based mapping, your pop-up window will look slightly different. Still, you have the mapper rows up top, and then on the bottom part, you can select specify row range and simply give your Excel rows where you want the line item data to be. In this specific instance, that will be rows 19 to 29 in Excel. And again, the end row could be 0 if you want almost endless amount of space for your line items. So until the end of the Excel sheet. Step 3 is to disable the other line item or line items that you have recorded. Over here you also see the loop. You see the loop icons there on rows 14 and 27. So you have specified your loop there. Now you just want to disable the other line items that you have recorded. Select the rows and disable. After that, it's all about dragging and dropping. Whenever you're dragging and dropping header fields, so SAP fields that are not inside the loop, then make sure that you do your drag and drop from a specific Excel cell. The reference is created to a specific Excel cell. So for instance here, for company code, we will do our drag and drop from cell F12 in Excel to our company code field on the SAP side there. As for the line items, those fields will be dragged from columns. Again, it doesn't matter where in that column. We have already specified that our actual data for those line items will start from row 19. We just want to tell the system which Excel columns will actually contain the data. So for our GL account here, we can do our drag and drop from anywhere in column E and drop it on the GL account SAP field. Same goes for cost center or tax code, etc. You notice the different references that are created on the SAP side there. Especially with cell-based mapping, it is good to also do drag and drop for your log message field. There will only be one cell for your log message as well, because this is just one document that we're going to be creating from this Excel file during one run. So we will only get back one log message. So we'll do the drag and drop to an Excel cell. Over here, I have an Excel file that I have designed already. I have my header data up top, so company code, document date, etc. Then I have a place for my log message. And starting from row 11, I have space for my actual line item data. Row 10 is of course for the headers of my line items. And then from 11 on, I have space for the actual data of my line items. I will be using this Excel file to do my mapping. Like I said previously, the recording portion of the process does not change at all. Right now we have a script for transaction FB50, which is about GL entries. So that particular script will need a loop. So I will switch over to cell-based mapping, put in my loop, disable the other line item that I have recorded, and then do my drag and drop against an existing Excel file. So I've already recorded my script and it's right here, but I haven't done anything about the mapping portion of my process here. So it's a freshly created new script, and I'm in the expert tab right here. The very first thing I want to do, not to forget it, is to open my existing Excel file. And that's there. Then, step 1, cell-based mapping. Now the loop, since I need one. Specify row range, so I don't have to use any indicators, H's or D's, in my Excel template. I believe my start row was 11. Since I have my Excel file open here, it's easy to flip back to it and make sure, yes, 11 is my start row. Have I specified an end row? Yes, I have. With my coloring and other settings here, I have actually made it clear that row 27 should be the last one for my light items. So there's space from 11 to 27. I have specified that that's enough, so I will use those in the script as well. 11 to 27. Now I have my loop. I will disable the other light item that I have recorded. And then I'm ready to do my drag and drop. Flip over back to the basic tab, so it's easier to do the drag and drop. Less room for error. Alright, dragging and dropping header data. I want company code to be in F4. So I will put my cursor in F4 and drag to company code. Header data done. Now for the line items. I can drag from E11 or E2 or E25. Doesn't matter. I have already specified in my loop that the line item data will always start from row 11. Now I just want to make a connection to the correct column. So it doesn't matter if I do my drag and drop from E1 or E7 or E12. The reference is made to the column because the GL account is inside the loop. Like that. Check out the values that we see here for the SAP fields. In this specific template, I have actually specified that the log message that I see right here, which is a red 0 right now, I have actually put in a formula right here copying the content of another cell. That will be cell AB1. AB1 is the cell that I plan to use for my log message. And then my formula here will bring that message to this place, and I can use whatever settings or coloring or whatever I want. If I bring the log message directly from SAP to this place here, it will automatically clear the background color and the text color as well. I don't want that to happen in this particular form. I want it to always be with the same background color and so on, and the text to always be in red. So it's a signal for the user to always check the message. So I will map my actual log message from SAP to cell AB1, and then this formula will bring the message here. So log cell here, given on the SAP side, should be mapped to AB1. I can simply type it in like this, or I can do the drag and drop. Both are fine. For now, I'm happy with my mapping. I will exit. Excel file is open. I will simply check. Yes, there's a reference to AB1. Everything looks good. And now we see the message in Excel. So the document was posted in company code 1000. And we also have the document number. If you wanted, you could extract the document number from there to a different Excel cell with a simple Excel formula, or do something else with Excel formulas. Very often, Winshuttle transaction and the scripts are used for mass uploads, getting masses of data to SAP. But sometimes you don't have such big masses, but you would like to make it easier for people to input data. One way of doing that could be to use a cell-based Excel file. So create a script with Winshuttle transaction and define an Excel file that's easy for the end users to fill in, and then simply by clicking a button, run the data to SAP. No need to open SAP separately and start filling in the data there. An Excel form like this could also be used for cases where the data for GL postings or sales orders or purchase orders or for whatever is coming from a different department or even outside the company. This is just an Excel file you can send out to people, to anyone. They can fill it in, send it back to you. Then you have a Winshuttle license. You can check the data quickly and simply click Run to get that data updated to your SAP system. No need to retype the data to SAP or anything like that. You can simply use the same Excel file that someone else has already filled in. That concludes the first portion of our Advanced 2 package for Winshuttle transaction. Please join me in the next part, which will cover adding if conditions to your script, so making the script a little more dynamic.